Talk of new teams joining Formula One has been rife for months now, but until now, no one really had any idea how it would happen. Obviously, you can't just turn up to the track with a car and ask where your pit box is, but outside of that, we really had no idea. Well, the FIA have now released the details of the official process, the criteria teams will be judged on, and the unsurprisingly expensive cost of going through the process. So for all you budding team owners, stick around for the rest of the video to find out how you can get your garage karting team onto the F1 track. The FIA has formally launched the application process for new F1 teams, a month after its call for expressions of interest was enthusiastically met by the Andretti-Cadillac partnership, which has divided opinion among fans and figures. The FIA says it welcomes interest from entities with a serious interest to enter the F1 Championship, and claims a number of potential candidates have already been in touch. Apart from Andretti, it could be pretty much anyone. Due diligence will be done on all the applications, with a thorough assessment analysing the technical capabilities, resources, and the ability to raise and maintain the funding necessary to run a competitive F1 team. Analysis will also be done on the racing experience and human resources of each bidder. Not only that, but candidates will have to show how their operation would achieve net zero CO2 emissions by 2030, a big goal for F1 ever since it was announced in 2019, and to what end their team would have a positive societal impact by competing in the sport. Hopefully some of that makes more sense to any official entries to the sport. Does stopping Christian Horner and Toto Wolff ripping each other apart in the press on a weekly basis count as a positive societal impact? Because I'll have them both over for dinner to talk through the process if it does. Speaking about the launch of the new team process, Ben Sulayem said, "The growth and appeal of the FIA Formula One World Championship is at unprecedented levels. The FIA believes the conditions are right for interested parties, which meet the selection criteria, to express a formal interest in entering the championship. We think that the conditions Ben Sulayem refers to is the fact that Formula One is more popular than ever, and there are plenty of people willing to spend the big bucks required to enter the sport. The FIA might be a non-profit organisation, apparently, but they do still make money from Formula One. The FIA makes money in several ways, such as with the licensing fees drivers and teams pay to participate in Formula One. They also charge a fee if you want your name added as an entrant on the entry list at any one of these events. This could be anyone from manufacturers who make engines used by teams competing there, such as Renault, to sponsors wanting their logos displayed prominently around Grand Prix circuits, such as McLaren sponsor Hugo Boss. Even companies like ESPN, who've paid millions of dollars annually over many years so they can have exclusive broadcasting rights, pay money to the FIA. A percentage of the income from the sale of television and media rights to Formula One races ends up in the governing body's pockets. What we're saying is the FIA stands to make big money from the growth of the sport and the growth of teams in the sport, so don't believe this is a completely benevolent invitation to some of the richest people in the world to enjoy the sport in a more personal way." Ben Sulayem continued by saying, "For the first time ever, as part of the selection conditions, we are requesting that candidates set out how they would meet the FIA sustainability benchmarks and how they would make a positive societal impact through sport. The process is a logical extension of the positive acceptance of the FIA's 2026 F1 Power Unit regulations from engine manufacturers, which has attracted Audi to Formula One and created interest among other potential entrants. So how will the FIA be checking if your team is sustainable and will have a positive societal impact? Well, there are a couple of steps laid out for us now, and it's time to start reaching for your wallet because it's going to get expensive. The first step is for potential new teams to email the FIA with a preliminary expression of interest about their desire to join F1. That's easy, right? Well, I haven't told you what the email needs to include yet. Start it with a cover letter introducing yourself and your team. Then list your team's full contact details, including the name of its primary contact person, telephone number, email address, and postal address. Then the company details, including address, articles of association, and infrastructure details. You're also going to need to identify all of your shareholders and the ultimate beneficial owner of all shares, a CV for each director and officer of the candidate entity, information on your relevant experience and capabilities in the automobile and motorsport sector, including technical experience, racing experience, facilities, equipment, and engineering resources. And no, just watching these videos will not count as relevant experiences. Finally, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement related to the ongoing discussions with the FIA and submit a non-refundable administration fee of $20,000. As far as we can work out, That $20,000 fee pays for someone to read your email, add your information into a database, and then send you an email back in 48 hours. I wish I got paid $10,000 a day to work as a secretary. The email you receive back could be a straight refusal of your application, and that's the end of the process for you. All you have to show for it is an email and $20,000 less than you started with. So maybe frame the email as a memento? At least you'll have something to show for it then. Assuming the email you get back is positive, you can move on to stage 2, where once again, you're going to need to reach for your wallet. The big one this time. You'll move on to the more formal evaluation process. This will require an application fee of $280,000. It's actually $300,000, but they gracefully deducted the previous $20,000 you paid. This is to cover the FIA expenses in completing its due diligence. While the final details about what will be evaluated in this second stage will be laid out at the time, the FIA expects it to cover several key criteria. If you were applying for a job, the first stage was literally just sending over your CV and hoping someone gets back to you to organize an interview. This part is the actual interview. The questions you're going to have to answer are: what is the technical ability and resources of your team? This is a chance to tell the FIA how you replace the exhaust on your Honda Civic, or in the case of a real team's application, list the qualities of their factory and the factory's achievements. What is the ability of your team to raise and maintain sufficient funding to meet its financial obligations and be competitive? This is where you flash the cash, send a screenshot of your bank statement, and tell them how much you make each year. For the real teams, this is going to be details on investors and sponsors. Next, is your team able to meet and comply with its obligations under the F1 sporting, technical, and financial regulations? Basically, are you going to be able to compete in the sport without cheating? Then you need a detailed business plan, including financial projections for the first 5 years of the project. This is going to be a summary of all the expenses that running an F1 team involves, and there are a lot of them. Then you're going to have to prove that you can offset them with that proof of funding from earlier. Basically, can you prove you aren't going to go bust in 2 years and be rubbish while doing it? They will also ask for your team's experience and capabilities in the motorsport or automobile sector, including technical experience, racing experience, facilities, equipment, and engineering resources, and relevant staff headcount and experience. This means that you don't necessarily have to have had race teams in the past, you just need to be able to prove that you know something about cars. This means a manufacturer like Lamborghini could apply, and as long as they were bringing people with racing experience on board, they wouldn't be penalized for not having a history of single-seater racing. Next, is your team and all individuals proposing to participate in the ownership, control, or management of the team fit and proper persons? This means no one wanted by Interpol, or with a history of really dodgy financial deals, or some crackpot dictator. You'll also have to explain how you will consider sustainability, equality, diversity and inclusion, and societal benefit. Finally, the FIA will assess the value that you may bring to the championship, including consideration of your reputation and integrity. We never said this was going to be easy, did we? The FIA expects that the formal process to understand the viability of new entrants will last until April 30th. It then says any decision about a new team being given the green light will be made by June 30th. It was also made clear in the FIA documents that a final call is not just down to the governing body. For the avoidance of doubt, no new applicant has an automatic right of entry to the championship, and the maximum number of teams competing in the championship, up to and including the 2025 season, is capped at 12, is said. Existing F1 teams will be given priority over new applicants. In the event that no applicant is considered suitable by the FIA and/or by the F1 commercial rights holder, no new F1 teams will be selected. So what do you think? Still tempted to sign up as a team? Let us know your team name and we might even consider being your first sponsor. Who do you think will be your competition for those spots on the grid? Let us know your guess in the comments down below, and on your way down, don't forget to subscribe in preparation for the 2023 season. Until next time, drive safe and bye for now.